In Northern Virginia, nearly 1 in 10 homes experience a price reduction every week. Now, it's true, homeowners are usually the last ones to understand market changes, but let me share 3 key mistakes I see sellers are currently making in Northern Virginia. It's pretty extraordinary in a market that has been truly stable since mid-2023. Nearly 330 homes across Northern Virginia experience a price reduction every week. In case we haven't met, my name is Tanya Blosser. I'm a longtime resident and real estate agent in the Northern Virginia area. And today we're talking about the truth about pricing your home in our market and why this one decision frequently determines everything that happens next. Because pricing isn't just about what your home is worth, it's about how buyers react to it and perceive it. And that's where I see very, very smart homeowners getting tripped up. The problem is that the number is often based on the past, while all buyers are making decisions based on what's available today. Across Northern Virginia, prices have remained at or slightly above 2025. Among the speed bumps across our world and yet in our local marketplace too, home prices are stable. But at the same time, homes are taking a little longer to sell, with an average days on market increasing to 27 days. I would offer this market is here to stay. No longer do we have to talk about the highs or lows. This is our real estate market. And yet we know buyers are still out there, but they're thinking more carefully, they're comparing more, and they're far less likely to chase a home that feels even slightly overpriced. Let's break this down into a way that actually helps you think about pricing, not just pick a number. First, pricing is always and still remains a strategy. It's not math. A lot of sellers assume pricing is about running recently sold homes, comparing to what their neighbors sold for, and then adding in all of the improvements that they have done to your home. But buyers are comparing your home to every other active home they've seen in the last week, not what sold 60 days ago or even 30 days ago, not what your neighbor got in a different market, but what's available right now. So when you ask, shouldn't we price higher and just see what happens? What you're really doing is stepping out of the alignment with the lineup of what buyers have already seen. And here's what happens next almost every time. The home sits on the market, showings are decent at first because new listings always get attention. But something feels off to buyers, they pause, they wait, they move on to the next option, and then you have to adjust the price. But now you're no longer new. You've lost momentum, and buyers start asking a very different question. Why didn't this sell already? That leads us to the second very truth. Overpricing doesn't protect your equity, and this is so key. It usually creates a very worse outcome. There's a belief that pricing high gives you room to negotiate. In reality, it often does the opposite. People don't like to negotiate because the strongest buyers, the ones ready to act quickly, are the most informed. They know value, and if your home feels misaligned price-wise to value, they don't engage at all. What's left are buyers looking for a deal or waiting for a price reduction. By the time you adjust, you're negotiating from a position of weakness, which is key instead of strength. And that's how a home that should have sold cleanly ends up sitting, adjusting, often selling for less than it would have with a stronger initial strategy. Now let's talk about the question I hear all the time. Will we get multiple offers if we price low? Sometimes yes, but not for the reason most people think. It's not about pricing low, it's about pricing in alignment with how buyers are searching and comparing. When a home feels well positioned based on condition, presentation, and current competition, it creates confidence. And a confident buyer acts faster. Multiple offers aren't created by a low price, they're created by the clarity. And that clarity comes from the understanding how buyers think, not just what sellers want. Which brings me to the third piece, or truth, and this one is a little personal. Emotional attachment versus market reality. This shows up most often around updates and improvements. You've renovated the kitchen, you've loved that kitchen, you've updated the bathrooms, you love your primary bathroom, you've invested real money into the home, and naturally you expect that to be reflected in the price. And that's fair, but buyers don't value improvements the same way you do. They didn't make those decisions, they didn't live through the process, they simply are seeing the finished product. and to compare it to other homes available right now. And when a seller says, we put $80,000 into this kitchen, the market responds with, how does this kitchen compare to the other ones I've seen at this similar price point? Not how much did it cost? That's a hard shift, but it's an important one. Because pricing based on investment instead of comparison is one of the fastest ways to disconnect with this marketplace. Now let's address another question I'm hearing from sellers. Why are we getting showings but no offers? This is really important. This is one of the clearest signals the market's giving you. I mean, buyers are interested but not convinced. They're walking through the home, they might like it, they're seeing the value, but something isn't quite lining up. And most of the time, that gap comes back to price relative to condition and presentation. The market is giving us feedback. It's not verbal, but this is where strategy and seller buy-in really matters. Because pricing isn't a one-time decision, it's a position you take in the market. And when that position is slightly off, even by a small margin, the ripple effects show up so quickly. Fewer offers, longer time on the market, more negotiation, more second guessing. When pricing is allowed from the start, everything feels different. Showings convert, buyers move with confidence, and the process feels simpler. Not rushed, not chaotic. That's the difference between pricing based on hope and pricing based on how the market actually works. If you're thinking about buying or selling your home and you're trying to figure out where that right number should land, this is one of the most important conversations we can have. Because the right strategy up front saves you time, stress, and often money on the back end. If you're thinking of selling your home, take a look down below for a link to my personal calendar. Let's hop on a Zoom call to strategize your personal situation. As always, my name is Tanya Blosser, and this is Tanya's Take.